Okay, part two. Even though that first video was so long, I obviously left quite a lot of stuff out. People sent me a lot of questions. I didn't even say what type of surgery I was getting. And I want to talk a little bit about the conditions in my body that led up to the injury as well, because a lot of people are talking about that they're experiencing similar problems now to what I described in my history leading up to this kind of extra bad injury. So the surgery anyway that I'm booked in for on Thursday is a microdiscetomy. So basically I have on my right side between my L5 and S1 joint a disc bulge that is compressing, I think, the root of my sciatic nerve. It's compressing the nerve anyway. Whether it's the root or not is irrelevant to me at this stage. And that is causing the pain, immobilities, etc. down my right leg. The discectomy, basically the surgeon will go in and remove the offending piece of disc. I believe because there's going to be quite a lot of drugs involved in the surgery, that when I wake up from the surgery I should be relatively pain-free, and I should expect one of two positive sort of results, and hopefully I'm not expecting the third negative outcome. But the results are that I wake up pain-free, and I continue to be pain-free, and I just build my body up and I change my lifestyle beyond this, and I just continue pain-free, pain-free, pain-free. The other option, the other outcome, is that I wake up pain-free on account of all the drugs, and then over the next couple of weeks, as the drugs and the anti-inflammatories kind of wear off, the nerve pain will start to come back a little bit, and then gradually over time, because there's no actual compression on the nerve anymore, that nerve pain will start to dissipate, and it will go away by itself. And in most cases that I've read, or most videos that I've watched, or stories that I've heard, people seem to fall into either of those categories. The surgeon talks about success rate of the surgery being in the high 70s and 80s, success being a pain-free and functional outcome. But I haven't actually I haven't heard of any people that it didn't work for, if that makes sense. I've heard of a lot of people that re-herniated their back, but I have not heard any cases of someone that woke up after the surgery and they were still in as much pain. So the third outcome that I'm hoping to avoid is that I wake up and it just didn't work at all, but that doesn't seem to be common. What does seem to be common, and something that I'm hopefully going to avoid, is you get the surgery. My lifestyle and my body mechanics basically created the need for this surgery. I could be someone who gets the surgery, doesn't change my lifestyle or my body mechanics, and then when I'm good to go again, I just get back in with the lifestyle and I create the same problem. So you basically re-herniate the disc. And then I understand that probably because they're actually going in and cutting the disc, that there will be, let's make sure I don't get hit by a car here, that there's going to obviously be some weakness to the disc itself. So over the next while after the surgery, obviously you have to be careful not to do all of the things that I can't do anyway. You know, people say, oh, be careful after the surgery that you don't bend down or pick something up, or I can't imagine I'm going to be doing these things. So this is the surgery. This is what I'm in for next Thursday. In terms of preparation for the surgery, I'm just going to try to eat and drink as best as I can, stay hydrated, try to sleep as much as I can. I'm out on a small walk here. Maybe you can tell by how I'm holding the camera that I'm limping quite a lot. The sciatica on my right side basically means that I'm not able to straighten my right leg fully when I'm walking like this, certainly not when I put it out in front of me. So the step length on my right side is very, very short, and because of that I have to walk slow, and I'm limping. But I'm actually surprised, because for the first while of this injury, for the first few months, I was walking as prescribed by many different physios or trainers. I was trying to walk as much as I could, and walking would provide me relief. Like, I would start the walk with a limp, and I would finish the walk relatively pain-free and certainly limp-free. But as the condition progressed, and today, for example, the walk doesn't really seem to provide as much, if any at all, relief as it used to, which is a shame, because you do read about walking as a prescription basically for sciatica and lower back issues. And considering that I believe excess sitting and driving were among the things that brought my condition on, it makes sense to me that walking would help. But it's a shame now that I'm kind of in a spot where the walking doesn't really help at all. One thing I am surprised with is that it has been 6 months so far, pretty much, and I have not experienced any knock-on effects. For example, my left leg isn't sore. I have no pain in my knees from walking strange. I have no pain in my ankles from walking strange. Before, if I'd hurt something or I was limping around, often you kind of get a secondary problem going on the other side of your body because of how you're compensating. But I've been lucky there. Lucky, if you can call that lucky. So yeah, this is me next Thursday. And another thing that I got a lot of questions about after I posted the video was to kind of go into a little bit more detail about the exercise history. Not the exercise history, the injury history, and a bit about how I felt and how that was created, and I'll explain now. So I've always had chronically tight hamstrings my whole life. I remember even when I was in primary school, sticks out to me in my mind, I couldn't sit on the floor with my feet out in front of me in an L-sit position. If there was an assembly in school or anything where we had to sit on the floor and watch something, I would sit in a kind of a cross-legged, traditional sitting on your bum, legs crossed, knees to the outside position. So my hips are very, very comfortable to externally rotate like this. Is that external rotation? I was very comfortable in this position, but my hamstrings were no good. I was always quite fast as well when I was younger. I used to play football, and I would do a lot of sports that involved running, and I did some running in school and all sorts of stuff, and I was quite a fast runner, and a lot of that I would put down to the tightness and the kind of how high strung my legs were for quite a long time. But I never had any big issues because of this until I started lifting weights and until I started working a 9-to-5 job. So I always had tight hamstrings, but I was able to play football my whole life. I never had any experience with back pain or anything like this. And then I make it to 18, 19. I started working in the office job. I started deadlifting. There was a time in my life where I was 75 kilos and I could deadlift 215 kilos was my maximum with a sumo pull. So no joke, probably the tight hamstrings there helping me out yet again. But this was that I was pulling this weight without a sore back, and then kind of over the years, whether it was with a warm-up set or a twist in jiu-jitsu or something like that, again, it was always in sport that I hurt myself. But over the years I would experience these spasms or kind of incidents where in a movement I would feel like a pain in my back, like a hot lower back sort of, whoa. And I can't remember the first time that this ever happened because it's so long ago, but I can certainly remember the last few, and it's instantly recognizable. Your body kind of goes, your brain goes, oh, here's that thing that always fucking happens to me. Everything locks up, and then I'm 2 or 3 weeks loosening things out, relaxing. I'm not one to take, well, I am now, but I wasn't one to take anti-inflammatories or anything like that. I would just eat well, try to sleep and rest well. But this happened to me, guys, many times. And this, I believe, is the times that I herniated my disc. These incidents where a lift or a twist or a pull or a push that goes wrong and you feel that localized, this is me herniating my disc. And then progressively over time, it was aggravated by the sitting, aggravated by driving, aggravated by poor body mechanics, and the sciatica was brought on. What's interesting for me is that if you had asked me all the times that I hurt my back before, which side felt like it was worse, I would say it was my left side. I never had any pain in my legs, but I would say that it was always my left lower back that was a little bit more sore. And And now here I am in a position with sciatica on the right side. So interesting how these things happen. The problem, I believe, in my body is, among many other inflexibilities and immobilities, is that I'm quite tight in my core and strong in my core on my left side and quite weak on my right side. This is created by repetition and repetition and repetition of a particular set of moves or a particular set of positions in jiu-jitsu. For me, I like to play a lot of half guard. When I do the half guard position, I would be quite contracted on the left side of my body and quite open on the right side of my body. And this is where I have the slip disc on the right side of my body. So if you can imagine biting on a burger, and on the other side from your face, the outside of the burger is going to push out. So I have a bite on the side closest to me, side furthest away opens up and pushes out. And this is similar, I feel, to what's happening, or what did happen in my lower back, is that the left side of my body is compressed and tight, and as such it forced the disc basically out the other side. You know, my spine is in a position where it's not ready to be loaded and it's not ready to be put under these kind of stressful positions, and here's me putting it under these stressful positions. So I guess this is just a little quick video outlining the surgery that I'm going in for. I didn't really explain that at all. I guess there's a lot of different surgeries that you could get for your lower back. A friend of mine and my coach in jiu-jitsu, he was recommended a number of years ago a spinal fusion, which he didn't take, and he, through conservative approach, was able to kind of, and still is able to keep himself healthy and relatively pain-free. And with that in mind, this was something that I was chasing for a long time, was that conservative kind of, I was trusting in my body. I've never had an injury before that didn't heal itself with rest and like focused kind of exercise and rehab. And then here I am. So I'm not getting a fusion, I'm getting the microdiscetomy. It is next Thursday. I'm getting it in Blackrock Clinic, which is a hospital here in Dublin in Ireland. I believe that I understand as best as I can how I created this imbalance in my body, and I believe, now I don't have a date in the calendar, but I believe that if I did have this playback function available, I believe I could put my finger on the days over the years where I would have actually slipped my disc or herniated my disc. And if I'm being honest, I can even look and say that I can see a set of circumstances just before this started of overtraining and too much driving and maybe even a little bit of stress. I had a particularly stressful last 2 years. I had a couple of relationships break down. I had a death in the family. My father passed away. I'm running my own business, and you know, you can have money stresses and money problems like this as well. So there's a lot to be thinking of, and not exactly the best environment to be not the best environment to have in your body, basically, to expect an injury and pain-free life. So yeah, this is me. I think over the next couple of days, I'm just going to try to chill out as much as I can. I'm in a position where I've found enough positive stories online that I feel confident. I feel confident to go in for the surgery. I'm nervous, of course. I'm scared. I've never had anything like that before. I'm going to have to get general anaesthetic. There's going to be all sorts of stuff hooked up to me, but in terms of the result, I'm very, very optimistic, and I'm positive. And from what I've heard and read a lot of online, because I'm fit and I'm young in the greater scheme of things, I have a great chance of coming out of this on the other side in a good way. So yeah, I appreciate all the messages of support, and I appreciate all the questions as well. I'm someone who has sent a lot of questions to people who have also made YouTube videos as well, so I'll answer them all if anybody has any questions. And if some of the stuff that I'm saying is ringing a bell with you, it's time to take action on that. Do not wait till you're in the same situation as me, because it is not pleasant. I love you.